Today's story: a woman finds a diamond ring on the beach, but what happened next could save a life. Let's begin. Megan stared with frightful eyes as the man dropped the ring on his desk. His hands shook and he messily stammered over his words. What? He swallowed loudly. How? Where? Did you find this? Megan felt something was terribly wrong. Hours earlier, when she first spotted the diamond ring buried in the sand, she couldn't contain her excitement. She was on the lookout for shells, but she couldn't believe her luck. She stared at the large diamond. It had to be worth thousands of dollars. For just a second, she considered taking it home with her, but she changed her mind when her eyes trailed along the thin silver band. When she spotted the small engravement, she knew that she could not keep it. Megan didn't know it yet, but she had just made a horrifying discovery. Looking at the ring, Megan spotted the small C+E engraved into the band. She knew that the ring held great sentimental value to someone. She couldn't just take it. Megan glanced around the beach, trying to spot the owner, but she was all alone. She couldn't spot a single other person. Not knowing what to do next, she thought it was best to take the ring to a jeweler. Maybe they would know what to do with it. But she was about to find herself in a terrifying situation. She decided to take it to the only jeweler she knew, Ethan. Surely the old man would know what to do with the gorgeous ring. How can I help you? He smiled at Megan. She said, I found this on the beach. I don't know where else to take it, so I figured you would know what to do with it. But she was not prepared for the man's strange reaction when she handed him the ring. His entire demeanor changed. His face went pale, and his hands shook when he looked down at the thin band. Looking back at Megan, his face twisted in horror. Where did you find this ring? She frowned, confused by the old man's sudden change in behavior. He went from smiling and relaxed to tense and on edge. I found it on the beach about a mile north from here, she replied. Oh no, oh no. The man began panicking as he reached for the phone beside him. What's going on? Megan stared in bewilderment, but the old man didn't reply. The old man dialed 911 and waited while the phone rang. His hands shook aggressively, but he couldn't help it. Megan couldn't understand what the big deal was. Ethan clearly knew something that she didn't. She wondered how bad the situation truly was. Did she even want to know? The old man paced back and forth, waiting for someone to answer the phone. He dropped it on his desk when no one answered. He was in a state of panic and shock, a thin layer of sweat covering his forehead. He tried again, and this time someone finally answered the phone. I need someone to be sent out immediately. He choked into the phone. Someone is in danger. I need your help. Thinking back of the afternoon when she found the ring, it was a beautiful day. She loved collecting shells and small pebbles from the sand, but how could it be that she stumbled across a dark secret? As she walked along the shore, she kept her eyes firmly on the ground, searching for any shells that she could add to her collection. But just as she was about to give up, something caught her attention. The tiny object appeared to glow in the bright afternoon sun. But as she dug it out from under the sand, she realized what she was looking at. It was a gorgeous ring. She paid close attention to the size of the diamond. It had to be worth a lot of money. Megan couldn't believe how lucky she was. Back at the store, Megan focused back on the old man, Ethan, and what would happen next. Megan couldn't help the anxiety that slowly spread through her core. When she found the ring, she assumed that it had just slipped from someone's finger. She never suspected that anything bad had happened. Finally, the police picked up the call. Ethan immediately said to the cops, "You need to send someone out immediately." He choked into the phone. "Someone is in danger. I need your help." He placed the phone down and took a seat across from Megan. Tears had begun spilling from his eyes. She couldn't leave the old man in this state. She had to wait with him, even if she didn't know what was going on. She tried one last time to get some answers out of him. This time, he finally responded. "This ring, it belongs to my wife." He spoke shakily, holding it up before her. "She left the house early this morning, and I haven't been able to reach her since." Megan's heart dropped. She was finally starting to understand the severity of the situation. "I figured that she would be home by now, napping. She never planned to go to the beach today. How did her ring end up in the sand?" Megan's eyes filled with tears as she gripped the old man's hand from across the table. She couldn't imagine what horrible thoughts had crossed his mind. It was worse than she had anticipated. As they waited for the police, he tried to call his wife one last time, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Ethan had no idea where his wife could be, but the ring pointed at many sinister possibilities. Ethan was in a state of shock as he gave them the details. His wife, Carol, left their home early that morning. She wanted to go for a short walk around the neighborhood. By the time Ethan left for work, she still hadn't returned. He assumed that she took a longer route than usual, but the truth was far more terrifying than he thought. When she failed to answer his calls, he assumed that she had gotten home and decided to take a nap. He wasn't too worried, but that all changed when Megan came into his store. Something was terribly wrong. Ethan could feel it deep in his bones. He begged the police for their help, and they immediately got to work. They sent a rescue team to search the beach where Megan found the ring. There was nothing Ethan or Megan could do, so they decided to stay in his store, waiting for answers. Megan sat beside the old man, holding his hand as hours went by. She knew that none of this was her fault, but she couldn't help the feeling of guilt that bubbled within her. What would have happened if she hadn't found the ring? She prayed that they would find the old woman somewhere safe, but it seemed unlikely. Just then, an officer stepped through the door. "Sir, we have some news about your wife." Ethan went cold as the young officer took a step closer. He had a sympathetic look on his face as he looked down at the distraught man. "Sir, our rescue team found your wife on the beach. She was about 2 miles south from where the ring was found." Ethan's heart dropped. Was Carol okay? "They've taken her to the hospital for a few tests. She appears to be all right, but she was terrified, cold, and confused when our men found her," he informed the old man. It turned out that Carol had taken a wrong turn on her walk that morning. Before she knew it, she found herself by the beach. She had no idea how to get home from there. To make matters even worse, she had no signal on the beach and couldn't call for help. The old man cried in relief. He was grateful that his wife was safe, but he felt terrible. Carol had been stranded on the beach for hours, and she had no way of getting home. The old man thanked the officer repeatedly, but he knew who the real hero was. He didn't even want to think about what could have happened if Megan never found the ring. She saved Carol's life. With tears in his eyes, Ethan turned to the young woman. She had been crying too. She was so grateful that Carol was safe. "I don't think I could thank you enough." More tears streamed down the old man's face. As far as he was concerned, he owed Megan his life. She could have gone home with Carol's ring, but she did the right thing, and it ended up saving her life. The officer agreed to take Ethan to the hospital so that he could be with his wife. When Megan got home later that night, she took a deep breath and slumped down on her bed. She couldn't believe that her relaxing Saturday morning had turned into something so terrifying. She didn't get to bring any beautiful shells back home with her, but that didn't matter. She was grateful that she could help the old woman. Disclaimer: to protect the privacy of those depicted, some names, locations, and identifying characteristics have been changed and are products of the author's imagination. Any resemblances to actual events, places, or persons, living or dead, are entirely coincidental.